Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day one of Sinister CyberCon. We've been having a great blast so far at all the panels. I am one of the Horrific Network's hosts, Jay Lee Vokey, and I am going to be joined by Laurence R Harvey, who you will know from Human Centipede 2 and Human Centipede 3. Lawrence, are you
Hello.
there?
Hi there.
Hello!
It's a bit
How
funny.
are you doing?
Everything's kind of in reverse. It's like looking in a mirror. So my right hand is here on the left. Yeah.
It gets a little confusing. My
So
brain doesn't process. Why am I on that
no,
side
I
now?
know. Yeah. Okay.
How are you doing this fine day?
I'm doing okay. It's it's the middle of the night. Well, it's like 11 o'clock at night here, so it's not.
Oh my
Good
goodness.
day. We've had a lovely day, but it's all dark now. So
Well, thank you very much for joining us at
you're
11 o'clock
welcome.
at night. Uh, uh, I want to talk about. I know we're going to be discussing Human Centipede, but in doing research, I found this show that you started out on, I believe, by the name of Parallel 9.
Yeah. Well, I
Okay.
done a show called I'd done bits on a show called What's Up Doc before that, but yeah, Saturday morning TV shows they were. So
Can you describe for our American audience? I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe. It was a 2 hour Saturday morning block. Is that what
yeah,
it was?
yeah. What would happen is on traditionally in the UK on Saturday mornings we'd have like a 2.5 hour magazine show. So you'd have like pop acts come on and do the song
Promote their
and
album.
be
Yeah.
interviewed, and then you'd also have cartoons and so on. So the ITV one I did called What's Up Doc, the one I started out on, that was obviously it had a lot of Warner Brothers cartoons. It's where the animated Batman was first shown in Britain. Uh,
Oh,
but what they do is like you'd get a half hour or 25 minute animated show, but it'd be split up into 2 or 3 segments. So yeah, we had the animated Batman and Animaniacs on What's Up Doc. Another one, the one that you mentioned, Parallel 9, that was a BBC show. So that was, um, yeah, it was kind of older cartoons and
Tom and
a lot more
Jerry, I
pop.
noticed, was on there, and
Right. Okay. Yeah. So,
I had not. We unfortunately in the United States we didn't get a whole lot of entertainment like that on our Saturday mornings. We just had our cartoons,
right.
and I love the format of the 2 hour block, and so I went down a weird rabbit hole and started watching a bunch of episodes of Parallel 9
Oh, right.
recently,
Okay. Yeah.
and that I could anything that I could find. That's why I wanted to bring it up to you. That I'm like I found this fascinating. I don't know
Well,
why, but
well, the 2 hour with the with having such a big block, the East was like a strand through it would be like a drama section that was with the cast of that show. So in Parallel 9, we were meant to be on an alien planet monitoring Earth. So yeah, that's and occasionally we'd bring sort of guests up to the planet to interview them and so on. So
yeah,
that's the kind of idea. So on Parallel
I
9, I was a little green man. So
you were the little green man is how
yeah,
you're.
so
Um, ha, I know that you've been asked this numerous times. How what was the audition process for you for Human Centipede 2? How did that come about? You get being cast in this?
Well, my agent got a phone call. Well, I got a phone call from my agent saying that some people wanted me to be in a porn film. Yeah. I just couldn't understand why. I had done a theatre show called The Man with the Absurdly Large Penis, but I thought it might be typecasting. So,
they
um,
they heard about you, sir.
yeah, yeah. Well, if I'm going to be typecast for one thing, it's. But no, no. So when he said he went on the website and it said adult entertainment Amsterdam, Six Entertainment and all that, and so I asked him what the title was, and he said Human Centipede 2, and I'd heard of the first one, which wasn't on general release at that time, but I had read reviews of when it was on at Fright Fest in London and Fantastic Fest in Austin. So yeah, I told him to get back in touch with them and set up an audition. And so on the day of the audition, I went down to London, and in the morning there was a screening of the first film, which I hadn't seen until then. And then about an hour and a half later, I was in an audition room, just doing an audition for in front of Tom and Ilona. So, and I just really, we got on like a house on fire, and I just hoped that they would cast me as any part, but I didn't think that it would be the main one. But lo and behold, that's what it was. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Uh, I've seen that
But
you've compared the first one many times to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is for me that was a
have I?
videotape that you had. I've noticed in a few interviews
But
about describing it specifically as an underground film that like teenagers dared each other. Oh, have you heard of
oh
this
no,
film?
I was talking about in the UK, the kind of yeah. I've talked about Human Centipede 2 being like that because of
I was
because of the censorship uh, uh, furore or non-furore. The fact that it was initially refused certificates. So so yeah, it becomes one that teenagers say, Have you seen that?" And they pretend to have seen it when they haven't. But yeah, I
well.
mean, but the same can be applied to the first film as well because uh, people when we were shooting the second one, people were posing in the three uh, parts of the centipede in photos on Facebook at that time. So it's starting to become a kind of cultural phenomenon. And then it was
Yeah.
on Beavis and Butthead and so on after that. So yeah, it's sort of. So yeah, go on, go on,
No.
carry on with the
One
question. Sorry.
one of the big things that I wanted to bring up in the parallels of that, I understand the censorship issue, but one of the other big comparisons is we're very used to the first movie was a wrong place, wrong time type story.
Yeah.
We've gotten that from several horror movies over the years. In the second one, we got this meta approach of the movie existing in this universe that your character who now steps forward and gets to take the place of the silent killer stereotype, which, and I'm trying to find a way to word this question properly, you are not necessarily the stature or look of the silent killer that we've seen before in anything. Was it always did they go after you specifically because of you being so different than the normal quote unquote mad quiet killer that we've seen in the past?
Um, I think they just wanted somebody that was physically the opposite of Dieter initially, um, so that so that the main character would be so far removed from Dieter's portrayal of Dr. Heiser in the first film. So it was more about that kind of contrast rather than something sort of going for kind of genre stereotypes, as it were. But
Okay.
um, yeah, so it was more because Dieter was tall and skinny that I was chosen, I guess. in contrast. So, but yeah,
Your
I mean, Tom was looking for um, short actors. He had a list of about 7, I think, and but yeah.
your facial expressions throughout it are haunting, and I've read a couple of times that that was the reason why you were cast overall, is that you went with the silent approach, whereas didn't the script originally have lines for your character?
Yeah, I mean, Martin. I mean, there's a few moments in the initial, not initial script, but when Tom was talking it through scene by scene at the audition, where Martin would have lines, and he was imitating Dr. Heiter from the first film. Um, but also when we were running through other scenes, like Martin getting bullied at work, or um, the rape scene, or when his mother confronts him and rips up the scrapbook. Um, you know, Tom's always talking about Martin as not saying very much, um, and and so when I was doing the audition, I just uh, didn't speak, but sort of Tom thought that I managed to convey enough without speaking, and so decided to scrap the idea of Martin being seen to speak on screen. I mean, there's references to him talking throughout the film in previous kind of off-screen moments, but yeah, so you never see Martin uh, talk on screen. But it's obvious he's
Uh,
obviously bringing up the agents for the actors, and has obviously mentioned his love of the Human Centipede to, say, his mother and the Doctor, kind of thing. So
yeah, he has to
yeah,
speak somewhere. We just never get to see it.
to see it on, yeah, it's just not within the film, kind of thing. So
You give a tremendous performance as far as being put upon, and us giving, for lack of a better term, sympathy towards Martin throughout almost the entire film until we get to uh, the brutality is one thing. The majority of the people who you give the brutality to, you have shown us, have helped put upon you, society speaking. So when we get to the rape scene,
mhm.
for lack of a better term, that's where we have that moment of switch from we sympathize and we almost put ourselves into good for him getting those people,
Yeah.
and then that happens. As an actor, what is it like
Well,
with that
hopefully it
brutality
happens.
spit? Yes. Uh, uh, as an actor, what is it like trying to delve into that brutality? That those moments of in that scene is difficult to watch. I would imagine difficult to act.
Well, I mean, you've already seen quite a lot of brutality from Martin before then. It's just that it has been, yeah, as you were saying, it has been focused on people that either have bullied him or are symbolic of uh, parts of society that have bullied him, kind of thing. Or, I mean, the family is kind of different from that, but we kind of gloss over that because we see it as part of Martin's revenge on society generally. So, yeah, I mean, the rape scene, I think, is just. Uh, I mean, when we were making it, we definitely didn't want it to be entertaining. You know, it had to be. It had to be the part where you lost all sympathy for Martin. I mean, Martin's not a sympathetic character. It's um, it's just that when I was approaching it, and with Martin not speaking, you've kind of got to follow Martin through on his journey, as it as it were.
Oh
And
yes.
I always thought about sort of the classic monsters that you have sympathy for, like Frankenstein's creature and Quasimodo, and so there's always a kind of disfigurement, and then you get a glimpse of the soul beneath that, or you understand, like Frankenstein's monster is kind of a child, and trying to figure out why people react to him that way. Quasimodo is a good, kind-hearted soul who feels love and so on, but is again sort of shunned from society. So it was kind of trying to get that aspect into Martin's character, but at the same time, he is brutal and nasty, and you know, the audience does need to sort of lose that any empathy for him at some point. So we always kind of thought that would be the point where it happened. So
Well, it definitely is the switch. Um, let's talk about the final scene where we return to Martin in the security booth. Uh, there's been some people who have said that that is a flashback to the beginning of the movie. There are some people who have said that that is Martin has survived the centipede being forcibly entered him, uh, and he's just moving about his day.
yeah,
And
uh,
then there are
um,
some other people that have other theories. Where are you? What do you see your version of that final scene?
well, I mean the actual shot isn't from earlier in the film, so it's a new shot. So
It is.
um, initially I read it as Martin survives, and then the cries. Whether you read the cries of the child as uh, the cries of the child in the car park, and then the police sirens are coming to get Martin because somebody's alerted the police to the child being abandoned in the car park, and maybe that leads to Martin's project getting discovered,
Getting discovered.
um, or whether he is back at work. It's all been a failure, but the crying is Martin's inner child, who we've sort of we've heard and had glimpses of with um, the kind of nightmare scene when he's in bed,
Oh
kind of thing.
yes.
The references to Martin's father and the sexual abuse that Martin undergoes.
And the
So,
doctor helping symbolize that.
yeah, and so yeah, whether it's if the shot at the end is Martin surviving and the whole thing has gone tits up, as they say, um, then you know, is the child of the car, or is the child Martin's inner child, and Martin's just gonna redo the whole thing over again. But one fan came up and said that they had an idea, which I really, really like, which I think is the best
I want to hear this because
theory.
I had an idea as well.
It's Martin actually dies when he gets the centipede inserted
Oh,
up him. And what we're seeing at the end is Martin, as he's dying, going back to his happy place. And
watching the movie.
so the end shot is in Martin's imagination as he's dying. Yes.
Oh, see, and
So
I had a reverse of that where the end shot is the a continuation of the beginning shot. It's later in the same night, and everything we saw was in Martin's mind. He never followed through on everything. He just completely imagined himself in the world of Human Centipede.
right, but I mean, all I'd say to that is when we see Martin load the first victims into the van, there's already people in the van, and when they get to
Yes.
the warehouse, uh, oh no, sorry, yeah,
Yeah. Oh
that's it,
yeah. No.
yeah, no.
Uh, I let's move to Human Centipede 3, the final sequence.
Yep.
The idea of first of all, I love the brilliance of, in a second film in the franchise, treating the first film as existing in the world of the second film,
Yep.
and then moving forward to that and going, well, here we go, we'll go it on a bigger scale, and we've got the third movie treating both of the first two. And Dieter even drawing into the fact that you look like the guy from the second movie.
Yes. Yeah.
When you got this script, as an actor, how much fun is it to go, A, I get to play in this world again, but B, I get to somewhat poke fun at and somewhat raise up the movie I was just in?
Well, I mean, but even before we got the script, Tom had already told me or pitched me the idea and said, it's going to be you and Dieter as the Laurence Harvey of horror, coming back playing completely
Perfect
different
description.
characters, and it's going to be politically incorrect and rather than it's not going to try and outdo the gore. So this is what we knew before going in, and I think so. Yeah, I think it was fun and interesting from that point of view. So, and it was great to work with Dieter as well. So, yeah.
The Laurel and Hardy of horror is a terrific way to describe the two of you. A comedy version of Adolf Hitler and Dr. Mengele, with you playing Dr. Mengele, is another description. I've had people describe in reviews that in Human Centipede 3, you play the most sympathetic character. And I keep reminding them, but it's all you. It was your idea. Yeah. You even get mad. You're almost the worst big bad of that situation.
Well, I mean, that was always deliberate from Tom's point of view, because it's the planners of the final solution, the people that were behind the logistics of it all, that were responsible for the Holocaust far more than the actual prison guards or so. So
oh yes,
so that's what that's a kind of nod to. So yeah, although Martin is a sympathetic character within that office, in the whole picture, he's actually the most evil and horrible character there.
Oh yes. We've got a question. Next year, the Human Centipede 2 has a 10-year anniversary. Did you expect this film to have a historical impact on cinema, good or bad?
Well, when I saw it in the cast and crew screening, I thought it'd be. I was really pleased with it and thought it was very good. I thought it would be a kind of one of those films that people, some people would have it as their favorite, or it'd be one that people would like. And it just seems strange that even 10 years later, we're still kind of talking about it. So, and yeah, it kind of had a bigger impact than I expected. But at the same time, I think all three films are very different from the traditional kind of horror franchise kind of stuff that we've got at the moment. So yeah, for that reason, I can understand why people still like them. So,
going back to 3, you didn't get a chance to work with Dieter in the second one. He was just their film archive. How was it working with him now, joining forces in the franchise for the third one?
Well, he's exactly like Dr. Heiter, except in a gregarious way. So he's just as theatrical and almost as overbearing, but in a kind of very gregarious way. And also, it's not about sort of self-aggrandizement. It's more about his commitment to the project and the work. And I think he holds. well, he held theatre and acting higher than his own ego, kind of thing. So yeah, that's it was. He was a remarkable man to work with. So,
With
and
both
he's
films being
much
so
missed.
different, yes, I was going to get to the unfortunate passing of Dieter very recently. What are some of your favorite memories that we didn't get to see on camera working with somebody that was so grandiose and so theatrical?
Well, I mean, there's during filming of Human Centipede 3, there's one scene where I you don't realize what when you're doing it, you don't kind of realize that you've got different people from different countries that have English as a second language, trying to work together um, alongside English and American sort of cast and crew as well. So there was one day where he sort of got so wound up by something. I think Tom had changed an idea slightly, and it just wasn't what Dieter was prepared for. So he went off and stormed off in a huff. But he sort of we had to stop filming, and then he sort of came back about half an hour later. But then was so apologetic to absolutely every single person, from like the catering and caterers and so on. So he sort of went round to everybody individually and sort of was sincere in his apology before we could then start filming again. And it was one of those things where somebody misinterprets something because you've got different people speaking.
The language.
Yeah, it was a language thing. So, but yeah.
Of the two, do you have a favorite between the two? Because you played such vast different characters. Is there one that appeals to you more in retrospect?
Well, I mean, I've got great memories of filming part 3, but I think for me, part 2. I mean, even though it was a tougher shoot for me physically, I think part 2 is my favorite film just because I think it's more personal to me, and it's sort of more impactful. I think generally. So part 2 was my favorite.
Did you have a specific favorite scene that you was your favorite to shoot out of that?
The rape? No. um, no, I had my worst scene, which is outside in the rain, outside of the warehouse in the rain. That was the absolute worst because it was like 2 or 3 days of stupid rain machine and
Of just downpour of fake
and
rain
it's
on you?
horrible. Yeah. So yeah.
Now, for an actor who started out children's programming and then moved into horror, you've been
Well,
since
there
the
was a
Human Centipede.
decade between.
Well, but since doing the Human Centipede franchise, we've been noticing a lot of the shorts that you've been in and some of the post production that you've got going. Very much the horror genre loves to hold on to people and raise them up. How are you feeling now being a part of this genre and being asked to be in conventions and cyber conventions and everything? Is this a change of pace for you?
um, well, I mean, all through my career, there's been kind of different changes. I mean, I started out in the kind of fine art world as a kind of performance artist, and then was writing reviews and stuff, and then sort of moved into kids TV, then theatre, then doing adverts internationally, and then along came Human Centipede 2, then doing conventions, and then I guess at the moment, film wise, it's mainly kind of low budget British horror films, and but then I sort of also got this kind of well, it's not really a sideline, but in tandem with that, I'm doing a lot of work with Cadabra Records, who release kind of
Yes.
spoken word stuff.
I was going to ask you, can you give us the link to where we can find this? Because I've heard about this and I want to find it myself so I can hear what you're doing with
Okay.
this.
Well, I mean, Cadabra Records are a spoken word label in the US, and they release like really nice. They produce really nice records of like they do a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stuff. They also release audio dramas by Bleak December, who is Anthony D.P. Mann and his Canadian group. Um, so I did recently did The Wicker Man, a audio drama for Bleak December, which will be out on vinyl from Cadabra Records later in the year. I've got a version of I've got a reading of Spurs, the Todd Robbins short story that Freaks was based on.
Oh,
Uh,
wonderful.
so that's coming out from Cadabra, and some Alice Crowley poems uh, are, are just about to come out. But yeah, it's cadabrarecords.com. There's a shop and everything.
Wonderful. We have another question. Are you afraid that the Centipede films are going to typecast you as a heavy?
So I no, because I've played other things. I know probably Human Centipede 2 is the most famous film or most widely known film I've done. But in the UK, because Attack of the Adult Babies is on the horror channel quite a lot here, I also get recognised for that as much as Human Centipede 2. And any kind of fans of Astron 6 know that I was in The Editor, which is on Amazon Prime at the moment, I think. So if you check that out.
Yes.
And I think James made Frankenstein Creative Bikers available on Vimeo if you're on Facebook and saw that, I think.
I
So,
believe it's available to rent off of Amazon Prime Video as well.
oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Because I just recently got Frankenstein Creative Biker, so that way I could
Yeah.
talk to you about that as well.
Okay.
We have another question. The color version of Human Centipede 2 seems to divide the fans. I love how it turns the tone from straight horror to grand black comedy. What are your thoughts on the color version?
Okay. I always think the color version looks like, in like Little Otek or other kind of Jan Svankmajer films, and it's the non-fantastical bits. It's the kind of everyday bits. It kind of reminds you of that kind of yeah, Eastern European black comedies. Than yeah, I mean that there is that kind of. I get the point that you made, but yeah, it kind of reminds me of Eastern European things rather than.
Is there a version of the? I mean, A, do you rewatch the Human Centipede 2, and B, do you watch the color, the black and white?
I mostly watched the black and white. The last time I rewatched it was the color one because Starburst International Film Festival had was doing a screening of the color one, and I was doing a live commentary here in Manchester, just literally before the lockdown.
Right before.
Place. Yeah. So.
Speaking of being typecast as a heavy, there's a short film that I watched you in called Call Girl, that they take that and twist it on its head. I absolutely adore your performance in that. That was a very quick little film, but told a story very large, very fast. Do you feel that you like doing short films, or is the work not changed no matter the length of the film for you?
I think the work changes if it's like a big role, like Human Centipede 2, because Martin's in every single scene. It's obviously a bigger kind of more demanding kind of thing to take on than um, say a film that I'm just in a cameo in, or something like BFF Girls, which was fun to do, where I'm a cat, so I'm just doing the voiceover for the cat. So yeah, and that was a short. By Brian. I never.
I
Lanono. La, la, la. He's gonna.
I will butcher it. I can't say it.
Lonano or whatever, something like that. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, Brian, for slaughtering your name. There we go. So
Between
yeah, it's not a question of whether it's a feature length or a short that sort of is important to me. It's kind of the character and what kind of fun or what kind of challenges it's gonna give me. That's what
Well,
I'm interested in.
speaking of fun challenges, I'm looking at your IMDb, and we've got several post productions and pre productions, and I understand that pre productions
A lot
are
of them aren't going to happen.
yeah, because of the world we're in now, pre
Yeah.
production things may not exist anymore. But the post production, we can hope, are far enough along that they will come out.
Yep.
Of those, what are some projects that you're really looking forward to us getting to see?
I hope that one day the world gets to see Bogeyman reincarnation at some stage in whatever form. It was film I shot. It was directed by Uli Lomel, um, and yeah, just there was an idea to turn it into a pilot of a TV series, but I don't know what's happening since Uli died. I think it's in limbo. But other than that, I did. There's a couple on the IMDb. There's a couple of films um, directed by Jason Wright. Um, but I'm most interested. I think the one I'm most excited about with Jason is Mannequin, which I don't think is listed. But that was
I do not see that.
But Jason directed Tortured, which I have a cameo in, and um, Zombie Wars, or something like that.
Zombie Wars, yes.
Yeah, which is an anthology film, and I just provide like um, the linking structure.
Material.
Yes. So,
Wonderful.
so I'm more a kind of a host on that one. But yeah, Mannequin's a kind of slasher style film set in the British countryside, and that was fun to work on. And I don't think Eating Miss Campbell is on the on IMDb,
I didn't see that either.
but that's by Liam Reagan, who did My Bloody Banjo, which
I just saw the trailer for that. I was going to
oh right,
ask you
okay,
about that one.
yeah, of Banjo or Eating Miss Campbell.
My Bloody Banjo. I just
Right,
saw
okay.
the trailer for that.
Yep.
And I was cracking up throughout the entire trailer. I want to know more about that film and your part in it.
Well, I mean, you're saying about sort of being typecast as a heavy, but in My Bloody Banjo, I play a very sympathetic character that has looks after his mum and is picked upon at work, but is a kind of sad, lonely little man who dies tragically.
Oh
It's
no.
quite upsetting, really. But um, but but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, Banjo came out and then was retitled My Bloody Banjo in a cut that or the color balance was off and stuff like that, and Liam wasn't happy with it, so spent kind of 5 years re-editing it and doing color balance and pairing the sound. So that's going to come out again or be re-released as a director's cut. So look out for the director's cut when that's out. Hopefully in the next sort of 8 to 12 months. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully when the
Depending
world
on
opens up again.
vaccines, yeah. Yes.
True, true. Uh, Now, beyond the Sinister CyberCon, you've been able to be at other conventions and other festivals. How have you felt the horror community has treated you in the last decade since Human Centipede 2 came out?
I mean, it's been great. I've got to know several sort of festival people pretty well. It's always great to see the, the public and the audience for fans of the films. They're always very kind of intelligent and respectful and stuff like that. So it's great. Um, yeah. I mean, in Europe, there's a lot of kind of film festivals, like rather than conventions. It's more kind of film festivals. But then Germany has really big conventions, and horror's a big thing. There's a big sort of horror community in Germany. So I always love going to Germany. I love going to the Bloody Weekend Festival in France and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
Have you received any odd gifts or fan art or anything like that at a convention yet?
yes, yeah. I mean, I it's been a while since I've done a convention in America. So, but I used to get some odd things there, like little dioramas with um, Martin sort of shooting the centipede or killing the centipede at the end, or
Really?
blocks of sandpaper and stuff like that, and to sign. Yeah,
I was going to ask, what's the strangest thing you've had somebody sign or want somebody to get signed?
Uh, um, somebody made uh, a fake penis with the barbed wire round and asked me to sign that. So,
Wow. So that exists somewhere in this world. There is a Laurence R
well,
Harvey autographed barbed wire wrapped penis
yes,
somewhere.
yeah, but there is yes, yes, there is somewhere out there. There's a yeah. That's all I'm going to say on it.
That's well, if I've ever heard a note to try and wrap up a conversation on, that's a fun one to try and wrap up here. We're right there at our time. I want to thank our amazing guest, Laurence R. Harvey, who you know from Human Centipede 2 and 3 and the Attack of the Adult Babies,
The
Frankenstein
editor
created
and yeah,
Bikers, the editor. If you get a chance, find all of the short films, BFF Girls, the Call Girl, that was a great one. Please find the
oh,
work
Teddy
for
Bear's
Laurence R.
Picnic is just Teddy Bear's Picnic is on YouTube at the moment. That's uh,
Wonderful.
so yeah.
I will check that out right after this.
Okay,
So
great.
thank you very much, Lawrence, for joining us and being a part of our very first Sinister CyberCon.
Thank you. Okay,
All right.
bye.